Hello everyone. All right, so I am back with part 2 of my big testimony, and more than likely it's going to have to be part 3, part 4, part 5. I am putting myself on a clock because I have another commitment that I have to go to, but I did not want to leave this day without literally leaving out this part. So I got myself on a timer, and if you have comments, questions, just want to hear more in any way, feel free to message, make a comment, and I am more than glad to share. So at the end of the last clip, I was talking about how right before my father passed, I was able to visit him in New York. He had COVID, and I ended up finding out actually he had double pneumonia in addition to COVID. And he passed, and right before he passed, I was able to pray a prayer of rededication and just forgiveness. And if anyone who knows me and knows my story and knows my life, like that in and of itself was a miracle for me to be able to be the one to lead a man who had never really been there for me. And so there's so many things I could have held, so many things I could have refused to do and may have been within my rights to do it. But as a believer in Christ and as a woman of faith and as a mature believer in Christ, I have absolutely learned of letting go of my rights. We don't have we don't have so-called rights in the kingdom of God. Like, we do have rights, but from the standpoint of I'm gonna withhold forgiveness, I'm gonna withhold giving you something, and I'm gonna hold something over your head because you did wrong against me. No, that's where I had to tap into my faith, tap into my relationship with God, and let go. For real, let go and forgive. And so I've said through the years, if I could forgive him, surely, like, there's nothing anyone else in this world could ever do that I am not able to forgive. And that has held true, and I thank God for it. And that is my heart's desire. So from there, literally the big part of the meat of my testimony, of everything that I really, really wanted to share, was the fact that so that was 2021, my home was in forbearance, was behind in payments, just additional needs and things and mismanaging and all of that. And so I was coming to close to the end of the forbearance. And so around that time, before I went to New York the second time to visit my dad before he passed, I had a moment where I just was kind of like being quiet and being still at home, and I heard the word sale. And I was actually so the home that I had was beautiful on a lake, foreclosure, 89,000. Like, it was nice, prime location, right on the water. And I was actually sitting in this chair, which is it's my grandparents. It is something that was passed down, and so it's been in the family probably 50 plus years, and it was just really near and dear to me to actually have it when they ended up selling their home and, you know, just getting rid of some things and passing things on. And so I was actually sitting in this chair in that home, and I heard the word sale. Now, we are in the thick of COVID, y'all, in the thick of it, and I heard sale, and I was like, oh, okay. I was just like, and it was just one word, sale. And I quickly remember just like posturing myself, and I was like, God, yes, like, okay, I'm not even gonna question it. Like, I'm not going to try to second guess it, push back on it. I was just like, God, yes, I'm giving you my yes off the bat. I don't even have all the details. I was like, but God, one thing I must say, I'm like, God, you're gonna have to have us all the way, because it's not just me. It's my daughter and me. So, like, I've got her to worry and, you know, not worry about, but to be responsible for. And so I wrote down a number of what I wanted to sell for. I had no clue what the market, I had no clue anything. And so I ended up reaching out to my realtor at that time, and I asked her, you know, what would be the low, what would be the high that I could potentially get for the property. And she came out with the number that I wrote down on the paper before I didn't know anything. She came out with the number that I wrote down on the paper. And so that in and of itself just blessed me. And so we just started getting things in motion for having her to come look at the property to see what I would need to do. And literally she came and was like, there's really nothing that you would need to do, really nothing. And I do remember around that time, I think I had a big issue with my something huge mechanical going on that was literally going to be like thousands of dollars to fix. And so all that was going on in the midst of this. I was, you know, trying to work with the people to pay that and this and this and that, and to get that fixed. And I think the system itself was like, you know, pretty old. So the gentleman was struggling trying to find parts and things like that. And I was just like, okay, God, I'm giving you my yes. I don't even know all the details, but I'm giving it to you. So we fast forward, I'm going to New York. So I went to New York to visit my dad, and literally when I went, the second time I went, I think I took literally like a week or week and a half off. And at that point, I didn't have any more time because I'd already went to visit him earlier in the year when he was not doing well. And so this time I ended up taking a few days paid, but the majority of my time off was unpaid, like literally like 5 to 7 or 8 days unpaid. And I remember when I made the decision to do that, I was just like, God, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Like, there's no amount of money that could equate to me having time with my dad and just being able to be there if he was to pass away. Like, that's something you can't get back. And so I just remember, you know, people and even board members who, you know, were close to me but older and, you know, wiser, and they're like, you gonna really take that time off unpaid? And I was like, yes, really I am. Like, there's no amount of money that could replace this. And so I went to go see my dad. We had a plan for the house, all that was working out, putting it on the market, and had planned to go live literally when I got back from my dad, because the realtor knew what was going on, didn't want to have to deal with that while I was away. And when I tell you, I came back from seeing my dad, praying that prayer of rededication with him, the house went live like the very next day, and within 24 hours, less than 24 hours, the house was under contract for more than what I have written down. More. Okay, so this is only the tip of the testimony, right? Because if we rewind, and I know it might be a little bit hard, but hang in there with me. If we rewind, so that's 2021. In 2018, I was in that same property, and a seed was called for our church. I don't remember what the initiative was, but it was something big that we were working on, and they were calling for a seed, like $1,000 seed or $1,500 seed, and I didn't have it, but my heart was to sow it. And so I literally, don't know where the idea, God gave me the idea. I literally ended up turning that condo that I was living in into an Airbnb. Like, literally did just some minor tweaks, made one of our walk-in closets like a utility closet where I put all of our personal stuff at, and I just kind of made the home kind of just you know, just a template, you know, kind of just neutral, so it wasn't any of our real personal effects in the home. And I put all of our personal, you know, storage supplies into that big walk-in closet, and created made it a deadbolt lock instead of a door that just turns. And so God literally like gave me the ideas to just make it easy. It was so easy. When I'm telling you, I ended up getting a booking for like almost a month. I think it was like a 24 or 25 day booking, something crazy like that, that was gonna pay me out over $3,000. So I would have money for the seed and overflow. And so I did that. Sweet couple came in. It was actually a gentleman, I think, that was like a veteran and was coming in for some therapy. And so it was what they needed, and I was able to sow and give. And so I had sowed that seed off of sewing my home. And so I remember after that, and some technical things came up to where they were like, okay, you can't, rent your home out. And I had asked, checked in the bylaws, all that stuff like that, didn't see where I couldn't. And so literally took it off and, didn't do that again, but I was able to sow my seed. And I really loved the idea of what I was able to do. And the woman was so blessed by it, gave me a huge review. And so from that point forward, I was like, God, if I ever was to do this again, I would really want to have like a place that I could rent out within my home that had a separate entrance, and that I could basically make money right there from the comfort of my home. And so now we fast forward back to 2021. So my house is now sold, it's under contract. And so that starts the time clock. And now I'm like, okay, God, all right, you said sell. I was obedient. I've gone through the steps. Now it's under contract. Now what? Like, where we gonna live? Where we gonna live? And so I had no clue, like literally had no clue where we were gonna live. I just knew he said sell. And so I looked at some rentals. Had the idea to look at some Airbnbs. Maybe that would be a temporary stay until we had, found a home that I could buy again. And so literally when I looked back at it, it was one of the early reach outs that I had actually ended up being the place where we ended up moving to. And so when I had reached out, this space was available. And then I think later on when I reached back out, the lady said, hey, it was no longer available. But she said they had moved out and had a portion of their upstairs of their home that they would be willing to rent out to me month to month if I wanted to do that. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go see it and, all of that. And so I go to see it. It's a beautiful home. It's got 2 floors. It was 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 full bathrooms, half bath, beautiful big kitchen, beautiful neighborhood. It was in my daughter's school district. It was literally around the corner from the care facility where my grandmother had been for years. And so that was near and dear to me. I didn't realize that think about that till after we had moved in, and I would have days where I would just walk the neighborhood in the area where we lived, and I would pass there and it would just touch my heart because it felt like she was still close. And if you have caught up with any of the other clips, the same year that my father passed is the same year my grandmother passed. And so they passed within about 6 months of each other. And so it was really near and dear to my heart. And so I'm really giving y'all the clip short of this, trying to get through it. And I will definitely honor this space and come extended, but for the sake of time and wanting to give you the meat of everything to encourage your faith, we're gonna condense this. So this house that I go and I view and I see, I walk in, and all this time I'm like, okay, God, like, lead me. I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to move ahead of you. Like, I want to be in your will. And so I go in this house and I view it, I tour it, and I go up to one of the rooms. There's no, there's no furniture in it. There's nothing on the walls. And I go into the main primary bathroom upstairs, and there is an anchor on the wall. And literally, like, it won't even move. It won't even budge. Like, it's not coming off. And that to me was a huge sign. And anchors have been huge to me ever since. Like, God shows me absolute signs and encouragement through anchors. And so I just honestly took that as, okay, I got you. And so fast forward, I ended up signing a lease, moving into that home. It was super easy, was able to do month to month. And within a few months, if that, maybe even weeks, we started to have talk of would the home be for sale? And initially, I think the owner said yeah, and then you could tell it was kind of like one of, we don't believe you could buy this. We don't believe you could buy this. That was the feeling that I got. And so I just kept moving forward in faith, really saw God like, okay, I have a good feeling about this. I don't know if we can do it, but I have a good feeling about this. It literally has an Airbnb already in operation and fully functional in the basement. Like, whew, I was just like, okay, God, like this is this is real here, and this is what one of the things that I had desired. And so I just really thank God that he answers prayers. He hears and he sees the little small details, the seemingly small details. And so I thank God for faith. I thank God for salvation. I thank God for his sacrifice. I thank God for his love. I'm thankful that he's consistent even when we're not consistent. I'm thankful that he's faithful even when we're not faithful. And so so that home, literally, to give you the snip of it, not only was I able to shift from being in a home where I was in forbearance to coming out. Remember, I paid $89,000 for the condo sitting on the water. I was able to sell that same home for over $150,000. Over $150,000. So the forbearance was cleared, the mortgage was cleared. I came out with a check, paid off debt. Like, when I'm telling you, God set us up so fat, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know what I was sitting on. And transition out of there, ended up buying the home that I was renting that had an Airbnb in it, that years earlier I had said, God, I would love to have a property where literally I could make the income straight in the home. Fully functioning Airbnb. It was left furnished, so basically it was ready to go. Just did a few little touches and it was ready to go, and I was able to put it up, and we were able to start making money off of it literally almost immediately. And bought the home, was in my daughter's school district. I mean, it was just so many like blessings. It was just unreal. It felt unreal. And so I just want to encourage you, and there's so much more to that beyond that that I will share later, but I just want to encourage you. Like, so many times we're like, okay, God, I need you to come through for me. I need you to come through for me. Like, can we just rest for a minute? Can we just rest for a minute and say, you know what? God, even if you don't come through the way I thought you were going to come through, I trust you. Even if you don't give me the answers I thought you were going to give me, I trust you. Even if it doesn't look like what I want it to really look like, I trust you. I still trust you. And I thank you for who you are. That's part of relationship. That's part of fellowship. You want a friend in this life. You want a friend who's going to be like, hey, I want to be with you for you. I want to be friends with you for who you really are, flaws and all. How much more we rest and be at peace in our relationship with our Heavenly Father, that He's got us, that we don't have to give Him ultimatums, that we don't have to, feel tense in the day. No, rest, trust that He's got you, trust that He's for you, trust that He's with you. And so years ago, I feel like because of everything that was going on at that time, having my grandfather pass, my father pass, and my grandmother passed in the same year, and then to sell, be working through COVID, having my daughter away, just like all these different things at the same time, I felt it was so overwhelming, was, coming through things in relationship, like I didn't give the testimony props the way it needed to be told. And so I have been reminded of that a few times through the years, and I promised God, like, no, I'm gonna tell it. I gotta tell it, because that was too big. In the midst of COVID, People were offering thousands, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 over asking price during that time and paying cash. I was able to move into and end up being the homeowner of a home that wasn't upcharged, wasn't up priced. They actually brought the price down. We didn't have to come out, and say, we'll give you 30,000 extra or 50,000 extra. No, they actually ended up bringing the price down. I didn't even have to move out of it as I was already living in it. Like, it was just so many things we were able to get, things that normally you wouldn't maybe be able to get, we were able to get. And we were able to literally get the house committed to us before it was ever put on the market. So it wasn't even put on the market. We wouldn't have found it. I probably wouldn't even been looking in that area, in that neighborhood. I wouldn't have thought that was possible. And so allow God to do the seemingly impossible. That's the above, the above and beyond anything that you could ever ask or think. He brought me way up. He brought me way up. And now my expectation is greater. Now my expectation is more. Now my expectation is communities. Now my expectation is families, being able to help and support families, having multiple rentals, multiple Airbnbs. And so I just thank God for who he is and for his mercy and his love and his grace and his sustaining power. I will come back on at any point and do some more, share some more. If you don't know who I am, my name is Brittany. I am a mom of two. I am a wife. I am a mom of two, which are about 20 years between. So a 21-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. My daughter will be 22 this year, and my little one will be turning 2 in March. And I was a single mom for about 17 years. And through the grace of God, the love of God, both of my babies were NICU babies. And so behind me, you see books. So last year, I got the inspiration for writing books on healing, restoration for moms and dads and families who have experienced birth trauma. And so I have been an advocate for years, since probably about 2009-ish. I have volunteered and served in my community. And so I am just all things advocacy, all things faith, all things let's keep moving forward. And I love God with all my heart. And I want to see people whole. I want to see people healthy, happy, and covered and protected and restored and redeemed and all of those things. And so you can find my books on multiple major platforms. Just look up Brittany McFadden, and my books are there. After the Trauma, A NICU Mom's Guide to Recovery, Self-Care, and Restoration is the primary book, and then we've got 6 journals that are themed all around the original book. And so I will come on more and share about the actual books themselves, but I wanted to drop that testimony today about the home, because maybe someone is in a seemingly impossible situation. Trust God. Trust God. Even if it seems like it goes down before it goes up, trust God. Trust God. Trust God and watch him work. Be blessed.